You've likely seen this nootropic at your local grocery store or pharmacy. It's one of the few nootropic supplements that you can find just over the counter on the shelf while you're shopping for your regular groceries. But does Prevagen being in your grocery store make it now legit? I'm going to take you through everything you need to know about Prevagen in this review, from the ingredients to even the lawsuits, the price, if it's even worth for you to take, and if there are better options for nootropic supplements. So let's start with what this even is. They actually kind of hit the marketing goldmine with Prevagen. The active ingredient is what is called apoaequorin, and I don't even know if I pronounced that correctly. Now, it does have vitamin D in there, but as usual, I'm not going to cover the inactive ingredients in the nootropic, just because it makes no sense. You're getting the nootropic for the brain boosting ingredients, not for vitamins. And when I say they hit the marketing jackpot, this apoaequorin is a protein originally found in jellyfish. So the proposed mechanism of this apoaequorin is that it binds to calcium, which play a crucial role in functioning of brain cells. And as we age, we start to see a decline in these calcium ions. So in theory, having this supplement is going to maintain the amount of calcium within your brain and produce, or at least attenuate some of the decline, cognitive decline that can occur from aging. So what does the research say about this? Forgive me as I look to my computer because I've got my notes on this here. But there's one human study on this active ingredient apoaequorin and its effect on cognitive function. And this human study has some very severe limitations. Firstly, it was only recently peer-reviewed and it was published in a very low-impact journal. So if you're not familiar with journal impact factors, it's essentially how quote-unquote credible a journal is. And a high impact factor of something like Nature would be considered very credible. And then you have other journals that will essentially publish anything. Now, I'm not saying that journal will publish anything and not making any allegations there, but that's just typically how the publishing academic world works. The second issue is it was actually an in-house study conducted by Quincy Bioscience, which is the parent company of Prevagen. So they're the ones that own Prevagen. They conducted an in-house study of their own product. Now, I fully understand a company doing their own study on their own products, because to get funding for a study for a supplement would be impossible. No one is going to pay you to do a study on a random supplement unless they're going to get something out of it. So I don't really have an issue with a company doing their own study, but if you actually read through the method and how the study was done, that is where you start to see some of these issues. So the subjects in the study had only self-reported cognitive impairment, and any subjects with diagnosed mental impairment were excluded. So if we talk about apoaequorin starting to bind to calcium ions and how reduce the decline or cognitive decline as we age, then we would assume that you would need to use this on someone who is experiencing cognitive decline to see if it works. Now, the fact you only have people that have self-reported cognitive impairment comes with some issues. Firstly, it creates a huge bias within the data, where these subjects are far more susceptible to a placebo effect. Secondly, these subjects didn't actually show any cognitive impairments within an objective test, which means they were essentially healthy individuals that didn't have any cognitive impairments. So these are two little red flags within their own study. Now, the outcomes of their study were that the 10 milligrams, which is the dose in their Prevagen, just regular strength, taken daily for 90 days, showed a statistically significant improvement in verbal learning and memory recall. Now, outside of this study, we have no other data showing the efficacy of this ingredient. Just something to bear in mind if you're looking at taking Prevagen. Now, what's very interesting is they have a lawsuit against Prevagen. Now, a court decided that the US FTC and the state of New York can take legal action against this company. Essentially, Prevagen advertised that their product could improve memory, but the FTC in New York argued that Prevagen's claims were misleading. They said the product wasn't proven to work any better than a placebo, which is probably based from their in-house study. Now, initially, a lower court rejected the case, but a higher court disagreed and said the FTC could continue challenging Prevagen's claims. So this is an ongoing lawsuit regarding the claim of Prevagen. So again, just another thing to keep in mind when we're talking about this nootropic. So let's talk about price. When you look at the price online, you're looking at anywhere from around $1.33 to up to $3 per serving, depending on the type of Prevagen you get. They have 5 different formulas, from regular strength to extra strength to a professional formula. In my opinion, none of them are really any good. Just because you add more of the active ingredients. So for example, if you go from regular strength to extra strength, you're paying more for the extra strength. You're just getting 20 milligrams of apoaequorin instead of 10 milligrams. Does adding more to the formula now make it work better? based on their 1 in 1,000 study? Who knows? But I highly doubt just having a little more of that protein is going to have an effect if the 10 milligrams initially may not be as effective as claimed. So what do I advise? I advise that you save your money on Prevagen and use it for a far better, more effective nootropic. And if you're wondering which one that would be, check out this video next, because this video covers the 5 best nootropics for memory and focus that we like. And the #1 option there is clinically backed by 3 different studies, and there's a great formula loaded with effective nootropic brain boosting ingredients.